All right, so let's create our project. We're gonna use Cargo for that. Cargo, besides package manager, is also a utility that we're gonna use a lot of times during our development. It makes our lives a lot easier, I would say. So the way to create a new project is by running cargo init, and then afterwards the name of the project. We're gonna call ours rocket app, and then afterwards we're gonna specify this bin argument to instruct cargo to generate this as a binary and not as a library. Those two have a slightly different structure, so it's a good idea to specify that beforehand to save some time later. Now you see that we have a directory generated with the name of our project. So let's go ahead and open it with Visual Studio Code and see what we have in here. So Cargo generated a bunch of files for us already. We have this cargo.toml file, which contains metadata about our project or package, and then also dependencies, which of course right now they are empty. Then also we have this gitignore file, which specifies that this target directory can be ignored from the version control system. This directory is going to be used by Cargo to output some metadata about our project and also some build files to make also the build process faster. So it is a directory that we can safely exclude from version control. Then afterwards we have this src folder, which contains basically our program. This main.rs file is the entry point to our project, and right now it will just print a hello world line, nothing like complex, very easy and nice example of a Rust program. So for us, we want to create an endpoint for now. Maybe a hello world endpoint that when you trigger it, basically it outputs the same thing. So in order to do this, we're gonna have to specify first of all Rocket as our dependency. It's gonna be the framework that we will use. So after the name of the dependency, we also specify the version of the dependency. Something like this would work normally, but at the moment of this video, we do not have 0.5 fully released now. We just have a release candidate ready, which means that we will have to specify the version like this with this -rc suffix. This will instruct Cargo to fetch the release candidate of this version. But for you, it might not be needed, depending on whether we have a full release by then or not. Afterwards, we go back to the main.rs file, and we remove this example, and I will paste you an example, basically how to accomplish this hello world endpoint with Rocket. I will close this warning, and then I will explain you a bit how this program works. So we start from the top. We have this extend create Rocket, which specifies Rocket as our dependency, and then we have this macro use attribute up here, which basically instructs the compiler that we're going to make use of Rocket macros. For example, we need it down here because this routes exclamation mark is a macro, and this will not work if we don't specify this attribute up here. Then afterwards we have this endpoint here. This is our endpoint. We are calling it hello, and then it will just return this hello world string, nothing more, nothing less. It's a very straightforward example. The key part is up here, this attribute, the get attribute, which basically tells Rocket that this endpoint is a get endpoint. It can be triggered with a get HTTP method, and then afterwards it will use the /URI to match this endpoint. So whenever Rocket sees incoming requests, get requests to /URI, it will trigger this endpoint, and it will basically return whatever this endpoint gives it back, or whatever this function returns. And then afterwards we have this main function, which is actually a Rocket main function. It is async, and basically it will build the Rocket framework, mount the routes to it. So yeah, Rocket knows what to do with incoming requests, and afterwards it will launch it and await it. Basically after it is launched, it will start listening to all the requests and respond accordingly. Okay, so let's try to run this. To do so, we're gonna again use cargo. In the built-in terminal of code, we're gonna just run cargo run. It is a nice utility function which will invoke our program, build it and invoke it in the same time. You can see here it is downloading all of our dependencies. So this is basically our Rocket dependencies. Cargo is downloading them, compiling them. We can see we have 200 dependencies more or less. Hyper is one of the most important ones. I will talk a bit about Hyper a bit later, because it is a very important piece in the Rust ecosystem, web development ecosystem. But first of all, let's see what happened now. After compilation was finished, we have a binary. So cargo generated this binary. It is stored in the target directory. It's called Rocket App, the name of our project. And then after it built this binary, it also invoked it. So it ran this binary. And yeah, from now on we can see some output from Rocket, like something that is really helpful. It gives us like metadata about our application, basically our web application. Which address does it listen to? This is the IP, and then the port. Some generic info about limits and other configuration values that we will go through maybe later, and also during deployment. Afterwards you see that we have a section where Rocket describes all the mounted routes on it, which is very helpful. Now, of course, we see that we just have one route, the hello route for the /URI. Something that we will also explain later, fairings and shields. And in the end we have this explanatory message that saying Rocket has launched on this URL, which means that if we trigger this URL, if we call this URL, we will have our application respond to it. So let's open one more terminal here, and using curl we can call our URL and then also the port. Make sure / being the URI of our hello endpoint. So if we run this, you see that we have our application respond with hello world, which actually is not very pretty since we are missing a new line here. So the prompt continues right after the message. Ideally it should continue in a new line. Let's go ahead and add a new line up here to make it a lot prettier. And afterwards let's close this application, or terminate the application basically, and run cargo run again. Cargo now will recompile our app, but not the dependencies. Up here you see it will only compile our app now, because all the previous dependencies up here, they are already compiled and cached in the target directory. Cargo will reuse them to save our time, and then it will relaunch the new binary with our new program. Same metadata up here. Let's go to the other terminal and try to call our URL again, and yeah, you see here now. This is nicely printed, and then we have the prompt in new line.